Hi everyone, and welcome to our short briefing to support parent partnership during the COVID-19 situation and beyond. We know that not all settings have been able to remain open, and our session supports those settings whether that you have remained open or have had to close. And although families may have had to stop attending, they're still a part of our early years community and hopefully will be coming back into your setting when allowed to by the government. We are emphasising the importance of continued communication and support for parents and families, whether they're still attending your setting or at home with their children. Within this presentation, we are looking at some key aspects of how COVID-19 may have affected your setting and the parents and carers you work with. We will be giving some strategies and ideas on how best to support parents in each of the aspects discussed here. We have divided the session up into the following sections: existing families, new families, either temporary or permanent, keeping in touch with families that are not attending due to the COVID-19 situation, the emotional impact may be felt by families and support that can be offered, families that may have lost loved ones or are feeling isolated, and a useful links slide that you can either share with families as appropriate or you can use for information for yourselves, and a short slide on financial matters. We hope you find this helpful. Thank you. We're now going to think about those families that have continued to use your provision during this time. How to ensure that all parents are aware of any revised and new policies and procedures relating to COVID-19. As we know, the guidance is changing from day to day, and this is where social media, texting and email can be a really useful way of sharing information with parents very quickly. Think about how to support parents with any changes to routine and staffing. Parents will need constant reassurance that they can trust you to keep their child safe. When you're introducing measures that support this, then this will help with that reassurance. If staff are going to be furloughed, maybe they could be filmed reading a story or singing a song, and this can maybe be made available to families to view through Settings Facebook pages or other social media that you might use to ensure that continuity of contact for children and parents, so they don't forget the staff that were there, especially the child's key person. Have pictures available and accessible for staff and children to look through and to talk through when those furloughed staff are not there. This is a difficult time for staff and parents, and it may be a challenge to share the usual information that you would at the beginning and the end of the day, and you might have to think about other ways of doing this when parents are dropping off and picking up children from your doorway and not actually coming into the setting. It may be that you text parents during the day, WhatsApp messaging. These are all really good ways of sharing information with parents. Thank you. We're just going to think about those families that would usually be regular attenders to your setting but are currently at home, being kept at home by parents, and how to keep that continuity of contact going with those, how to keep in touch. And there are various ways, really imaginative ways that settings are doing this. Some settings are delivering physical packs of activities to children, especially those most vulnerable. There is Facebook live streaming of songs and stories. There's videos being made of, again, songs and stories read by familiar practitioners to ensure that that continuity is kept up and the children don't forget who the regular practitioners are that care for them. And supporting parents in this and just making sure that they know that all this is available, and also all the other activities that are available online for children at the moment. The BBC has a fantastic array of activities for children to hook into. Supporting those most vulnerable children that are being kept at home, how to ensure that parents are of our most vulnerable children are okay at this time, keeping up that contact if capacity allows, phone calls. Some settings are actually video messaging their children on an individual basis, which is, if you have the capacity to do that, is such a really good thing to do, so that the children don't forget who you are, and you're keeping up that sort of communication with the parents as well. And I think support for the emotional well-being of those children as well. And sometimes you're going to have parents that maybe need some behaviour strategies to cope with children at home. And I think if you can maybe have sort of planned phone calls with those parents, as capacity allows, then that would be really beneficial, especially for those most vulnerable children. We're going to have a look now at maybe additional children that are going to attend your setting. So if you think about children that may be new to your setting, that have arrived quite suddenly because of the situation as it currently stands, because their previous setting has had to make that difficult decision to close, the settling in process is maybe going to look a little bit different. The All About Me will need to be definitely completed so that you know what those children's interests are, so you can help them to settle in quickly. They're going to have to adapt to your setting in a very short time. Maybe thinking about a shortened induction procedure for those children, and strategies to support the child's emotional well-being will be so important at this time. We would advise not to bring comfort objects from home, but it might be the only thing actually that would settle the child. But if the child does need this, I would have maybe not the form of a cuddly toy, maybe something that's easily washable. And if possible, trying to obtain some information for the child's usual setting, about what the child's likes and dislikes are when they're within the setting. If the setting, if you are from a large chain and the settings have amalgamated and come together, which I know some of ours have on the Wirral, try and share key staff so that the children do have some familiar practitioners around them to try and make reassure them and make them feel secure within your setting. Use photos of staff and staff visits to prepare children for coming if you have the time. Ensure that communication throughout the day is effective to reassure parents as to how that child settles. It may be phoning parents, it may be sending short videos of the children that they're settled, because the parents are going to feel especially anxious at this time, and there may be frontline staff that are already very anxious because of the job that they're doing, and so they want to know and trust that their child is being cared for in a very safe environment. And it goes back to what we talked about earlier about making sure that the parents know that the procedures that you've put in place to keep their children safe within the setting. It's such difficult times at this time, and everybody is feeling anxious, practitioners, parents, and we need to make sure that the children are kept away from that anxiety as far as we can, so that they feel emotionally safe and secure in the environments that we provide for them. So we're just hoping that you're all doing your best with that. Thank you. We just now want to take a moment to think about the emotional impact that the whole situation has had upon parents. There may be parents that have been feeling really isolated and have been removed from their usual support networks of family and friends, particularly pertinent for those single parents that you may have attending. There may be families that have several young children that have been isolated within their home for all these weeks. And they may need some space and time to be able to express the feelings away from their children. If you can allow for that, that would be so beneficial for those parents. There may be some parents experiencing a sense of loss, and they may need some understanding and compassion and acknowledgement that they, for the grief that they're feeling. And it's not loss as we usually may understand it. It could be things that they've missed out on, such as really special family occasions, weddings, celebrations, births, holidays, a whole host of things. You know, that prolonged separation for the important people in our lives can have such an impact on us. And there may be parents who are going to miss out on important transitions, that maybe their child going from preschool up into school. There may be parents who are unwell. They've been dealing with illness as a result of the COVID-19, or supporting partners or a family member. And they might just need, you know, a little bit of extra time and reassurance, and to be able to have a conversation, and to know that, you know, maybe you haven't forgotten about them. It might be good to keep in touch before they actually start reattending the setting. And it's really important to just keep parents informed of any changes, even if the parents have been unwell for some time, so that once they've recovered, they can catch up with the information and they don't feel out of the loop. So just make sure you keep that contact going for those parents. And be sensitive to those who may have been ill. It may take them some time to sort of get back to normal. They may start, you know, be arriving late at the setting. Are they still not fully recovered if they have been poorly? And also, another thing to think about maybe is bereavement support. You know, if you know that there's a family that has suffered of bereavement, how and who is going to contact the family? Does the family want people to know, and are they happy for you to share this information? Do they want direct contact from others, or do they want it to go through the nursery if people want to drop off cards and messages and things? And maybe resources to support the family, to support the children within the family. The links to various organisations that can support with that. And also support for staff, so they are prepared to be sensitive and emotional, to have those emotional conversations with parents maybe. And supporting parents to help their children to understand and work through their grief is really, really important. And making sure that staff maybe access some training around this in the future would be really important. Thank you. One last thing that we'd like you to think about really is the financial aspect of this for parents, in that there may be some parents that have lost their jobs, that may be really struggling financially, and it might be a time to think about having a look at your registration fees, retainers, deposits, advance fees, notice periods, all those sorts of things, and seeing if there can be some flexibility around these to support parents, maybe on an individual basis at this time. Also make sure that you have sort of copies of the government support that is available, so that parents are aware of monies that they may be able to claim. Obviously, we realise that as providers, some of you may be struggling at this time as well, and just make sure that you have access also to the government support that's available. Thank you.